Why, hello YouTube, this is Baylor Mage again, and today we got the full Ascendency list directly from GDG. Don't worry about the leaked ones, they're bullshit. It's different from them anyway. If you've looked at them, go look at the ones from GDG. They're real. Anyway, we got our full Ascendency lists. So, what I did was I went through them looking for what I think might be the best minion options now that we have a full list. We got 4 options that I think are all pretty viable in different states. We're going to go through them. I expect there to be many more options as we get more ascendancies given to us during early access. But for launch, I think there's 4 pretty decent solid options. Our really good options is Infernalist, which is what I'll be starting, and Gemling Legionnaire. And 2 really interesting options that I actually think could have the possibility of being better, but are definitely risky starts, are Chronomancer and Titan, actually. So let's go through them and we'll see why. Okay, so first up, this is the one I will probably be starting. This is Infernalist. I think this one will be the best in slot option for day 1/first character. I think it's the clear winner for early. I think if you plan on being a minion exclusive build, this is going to be the one we're suggesting. There's really only solidly one really important node, which is just the summoned Infernal Hound. 20% of damage from hits is taken from your Hellhound's life before you is really nice, but it also has a pretty decent AoE ignite fire area that you can fully support. I think that's going to be great. It also appears as if it does not require any spirit, so it's an extra free minion. So that is just going to be our first Ascendancy, and we're going to love it. From there, I'm thinking that we go with Altered Flesh because we have to for travel reasons, which is still pretty nice. Cold and Lightning taken as fire is a bit whatever right now generically, but 20% of Fizz taken as chaos, that actually seems pretty good. We're sort of assuming that armor works on the same sort of deal as it does on PoE 1. If that's true, Fizz taken as anything is top tier, even if it's chaos. That's fine. We can easily cap chaos resistance anyway. We will cap chaos resistance even in this game. I'm very sure of it. So that'll be our second node. Third node, I'm thinking right here. Reserve 25% of your life plus 1 to maximum spirit per 25 maximum life. So if we stack a bunch of life, we get to then turn that life into spirit. Okay, but if we've stacked a bunch of life, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to get those life rolls on energy shield gear and also get energy shield rolls. And then we're going to take reserve 25% of your life to get +1 maximum energy shield per 8 maximum life. So we're going to stack energy shield gear that also has 1 life roll on it to get a bunch of life, reserve 50% of it total to get a bunch of spirit, and a bunch more energy shield to add on to the energy shield we've already got. And then the last node is sort of up for debate. Like there's a lot of options. To be honest, we're not going to get Uber very quickly. As much as I would love to be in demon form right now on launch, demon form does lose all of your minions. That is supposed to get fixed at some point. If it does, it might be a good option because it does have +4 to all spells in it. It is important to note that most minions do not have the spell tag, but Raise Zombie and Raise Spectre do. So if we make a Spectre build, that should affect it. It should give it 4 levels. That would be huge. Otherwise, really, even just the other one here for maximum maximum mana is pretty good, and you could end up reserving 75% of your life and just going mom with a bunch of energy shield as well. There's a lot of options here. Realistically, I just think this one's going to be the best. Mostly it's because of the little pox puppy that you're going to get. The thing's adorable. I want it. It's a free minion to be fully supported that doesn't cost spirit. That's OP. That's what I think will be the best day one league start version of a minion build. However, it's not what I think will be the best minion build eventually in really good gear. Eventually, in really good gear, I actually think Gemling Legionnaire might be the one. Now, it will have to go on a pretty decent skill grimmage to get from the bottom of the tree to the top of the tree where all the important minion nodes are that we need. That being said, that skill grimmage also leads me past a lot of good defensive nodes that I would eventually take anyway. However, it's a good 40 points of travel before you get to any minion nodes, which means if I wanted to play this as a minion build, I would have to do it either in twink gear so that I've got like good leveling gear to power through it, or I would have to level as a normal mercenary on that side of the tree doing like whatever shotgun or bow things and then doing a respec later. So I don't think this is a good league start. I do think there's a chance that it might end up being the absolute best minion build in like really good min-max gear. Reasons for that: +1 to level of all skills is insane. 10% quality on all skills should be really good. We haven't seen the quality yet. I'm hoping in the best case scenario, quality would be reduced spirit reservation, but I would also take increased movement speed or resistance or resurrection speed. If it's any of those things, fantastic. We also get 3 additional skill slots, which, because of how the whole game works, that's great because we can diversify our amount of minions. You don't have to have, oh, I've got 7 zombies and 3 golems and that's all I can fit. No, you can fit 1 or 2 of a whole bunch of different minions and still fully support them. So I think this will be really, really good. Also, you can use 2 copies of the same support gem in different skills. That's huge, especially for the minion specific support gems, which are a little bit stronger than generic support gems because they're only for minions. Being able to use them on 2 different things, way better. So I'm really looking forward to late game good gear, much better, knowing what I'm doing, the opportunity for a Gemling Legionnaire. So those are the 2 that stand out as best in slot for day one, best in slot eventually, probably. But then we have 2 that I think are incredibly interesting, and so we're going to go over why. The first one is Chronomancer. The downside of this is that just the starter area probably isn't going to have those minion nodes because they'll only be there if you start as a witch. They won't be here if you start as a Sork, which is what Chronomancer is, so we will lose like a little bit of minion damage at the front there. However, a few things here. 1, skills have a 33% chance to not consume cooldown when used. That's pretty cool, assuming that our minion skills are technically our skills. We activate them, they're on our bar for those active skills. That could be pretty cool. I do also think time freeze is pretty cool, but it does require you to go through temporal rift, which is also pretty cool, but it would be limiting to go down that path. So I'm not sure about that, but time freeze does look insane. One of the biggest problems minions has always historically had in practically every game is how long it takes them to traverse to something. The getting to something is always the most awkward part. Being able to literally just freeze mobs so that your minions can get to them in a timely fashion could be really good. On that note though, enemies in your presence are slowed by 20%. Not only really good defensively for us, also really good offensively for our minions. They get to dodge less, they get to run, mobs get to dodge less, mobs get to run away less, mobs will not run out of melee range or out of the projectile as often. That's actually a really strong node. And then defensively down here, we get 30% of damage taken recouped as life, and recoup effects happen over 4 seconds instead. So defensively, really, 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 really nice. Could potentially make some pretty good minion builds out of that, provided minions are actually functioning and good, which fingers crossed. It is worth noting that recoup effect in PoE 2 happens over 8 seconds by default instead of 4 like it does in PoE 1 by default. So this node bringing it to 4 instead of 8 is literally doubling its effect. So quite useful. The other one, and perhaps the most interesting one to me, is actually Titan. Now, bear with me here. Bear with me here. Titan, I think, might be good for one specific reason. Hulking form. 50% increased effect of small passive skills. So at least as far as our understanding goes, I'm going to use Path of Building and PoE 1's skill tree to just demonstrate this, because we don't have a fully functioning Path of Exile 2 skill tree anyway. However, what we know to be small passive skills right now is not only these travel nodes, but also any of the lead-in nodes to wheels. So all of these nodes that I've selected there, those would all be small passives. Now, this would be a notable. That would not count. This would be a notable. That wouldn't count. These are keystones. They don't count. So none of those would count, but every single one of these, the lead-ins to the wheels and all of the travel nodes, which in PoE 2 are stat nodes, every single one of them over your entire tree gets 50% increased effect. Now, realistically, on most trees with 122 total points, you're going to have at least 80 small passive skill travel nodes, essentially. With a 50% increased effect of those 80 nodes, that's the equivalent power of getting 40 more passive points. That's actually insanity. That could be really, 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 really strong for basically everyone, but especially that's a way for us to get minions out of this. Unfortunately, the lead-in, or fortunately for me, the lead-in is actually the rucksack node, so we get the 20 inventory spaces. For me, I'm real excited that that's there, because if you weren't forced to get it, I wouldn't be able to warrant it in my brain, even though I really want the extra 20 inventory slots. It wouldn't be worth getting it if it wasn't leading to this. I believe hulking form is worth 4 ascendancy points on its own, and I believe that's the reason that it's behind a node that doesn't give any power at all. Our other 2 nodes in this build, if we were to make a minion build, would be stone skin to get more armor from equipped body armor, and 15% maximum life down the bottom here, which would go up and down right there. So I'd be heading in, getting my 50%, probably the life 3rd, and probably the armor 4th. And I'm actually quite a bit interested in how that does. Being able to play Titan as a minion build is very interesting. I do think it'll be good. It's also a decent amount closer to all the minion nodes than Gemling Legionnaire is, so that Skillgrimage is a little bit shorter. That being said, those are the only 4 options that I see. I'll be starting Infernalist. If you have any other ideas on what you think might make a good minion build, let me know in the comments. And also, if you're making one of these minion builds, starting as one of these classes, let me know which one you're starting, because I would love to see how many people are starting what. And if anyone's starting one of our 2 interesting classes, come back after the league start and tell us how it's gone, because I won't be starting that and I'm very interested. That is all I have. I will see everybody next time. Goodbye.